Phoebus, the red light's on, so all the pressure starts building right now. You get nervous. So for that, let's ask the very first question here: is what'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I had bell pepper omelet, sausage, and some lemon bread, and then
Nice.
I drank cafe latte to push it all down.
Nice. That's a solid breakfast. That sounds good. A pepper omelet. That sounds very tasty. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, instead of us discussing our breakfast routines, why don't we get into actually the Kickstarter campaign, which is why we're talking. So why don't you do me a favor and introduce yourself and tell my listeners what you're raising money for over on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm Phoebus. I'm from the CutiePi community. And what our project essentially is a portable Linux tablet designed essentially for developers. What separates this project from all the other niche tablets out there is the fact that all our designs, from the hardware to the software design, is open source. So what that means is that anybody who has the know-how and the means can pretty much make their own CutiePi tablet. And also, in case some people missed it, our tablets also have a handle.
Yeah, I saw that. It makes it a little bit more convenient than carrying around a whole bunch of stuff with you to make your thing portable. That's cool. So where you mentioned the word community in there. Kind of walk us through that. So for maybe my listeners out there that have no idea what you're talking about with CutiePi Tablet or Raspberry Pi, kind of walk us through what does that mean when you say community and like open source.
Okay, so basically, we don't consider ourselves as a business. So the project officially started around early last year, but it unofficially started when Hank, our community head, joined the same firm that I was working for. And he just casually mentioned on multiple occasions that he had this idea for in some prototypes to back it up and of a tablet. And he was wondering if Schweib, another colleague, sorry, there's a lot of names here, and I were interested in collaborating with him. The more we learned about the idea, the more we got into it. And so we decided to start with the most important aspect of all, which is, of course, icon design. Mm-hmm. So basically it started amongst the three of us, and then it just it's a community of friends who just wanted to do something together.
That's cool. So when you mentioned that the design, so what starts in your mind that you have to know, like, what do you have to do first to kind of get this thing off the ground, kind of formulate the idea about it, and then obviously putting in a tablet? Because I know that the Raspberry Pis can go in almost anything, correct? I mean, like I've had speaker interviews and like sort of Alexa, type of things. So I know they can go anything. So how do you start to think about tablets and how somebody's going to use it?
Right. So basically, we just wanted a portable Linux tablet. And so when you think about that, the things you can buy off the shelf mostly are it's the Raspberry Pi, and then you have the monitors and then the cables. Actually, the first prototype was exactly those things, and it was housed in a cardboard box. So that was our first prototype. And then the second prototype, we bought a 3D printer, and then the house was then printed. Right. And then we used that 3D printed housing. And then for the third prototype, we actually had our own professional design now. Yeah. So it was an evolution. But so it started with a cardboard box.
Yeah, that's great. Now, do you find that I know the Linux community is a they have their mindset on tech, and they're different than maybe Guy. I'm sitting with Mac stuff everywhere, right? So like there is a community around that. Mm-hmm. So what did you find that was missing in the tablet space of that? Was it just the portability in general, or is it more around function? Like, hey, I want to be able to code something really quick at the coffee shop or whatever it is. Is that what you guys were kind of thinking?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. So first of all, the portability, because like we've alluded to in the videos we've made for the Kickstarter project, it's not easy to have a portable Linux. Like if you wanted to take your projects out for a spin, you'd have to bring a lot of stuff, a lot of wires, and even a monitor, a portable one if you want. And so, for example, if you're out in the jungle and you find this inspiration to code something, you just can't. It's not possible. So we find ourselves in some sort of in similar predicaments in the past. And so, that's how the idea got started. So.
Yeah, that's cool. And how much, I know in the video I saw around like the motherboard, how much did you guys have to like really design that that board to have the Wi-Fi, to have everything on it, or is that some stuff that you can just source and kind of put together? I don't really know much about that world, so yeah.
So it's a lot. So it was a working. So the evolution from prototype 1, which is the cardboard box, and then the prototype 2 is that we used off the shelf products, and then for prototype 2 we kind of stripped down everything. So we only took the bare necessities. We soldered some parts as well onto the board, and so it's a progression. So it's a series of steps that we had to do to evolve the device, and then finally we had this professional designer to design our PCB, the circuit board, so that everything works as intended. And we also had we had a bunch of prototypes, but before we sent it out for printing, we just had a lot of prototypes.
Right? Yeah,
on that.
And what's the time frame from that initial idea to what we see in the video? Like, how long was that time frame again?
Okay, so the idea actually started around 2018 November.
Okay,
and I think we got to an acceptable level around was it around June 2019? So it's roughly a year and a half, I would say.
Okay. Wow, that's actually quicker than I had anticipated. I was wondering if this was a 3-year or 4-year. Well, during that time period, what was keeping you up at night? Like, what was the biggest thing, though, that you guys were really trying to hone in on to make sure that, one, the idea was good, but what was that one thing that you guys were just like, oh man, we have to get this right?
So with consumer devices, there's a lot of functionalities that we actually take for granted. Like, for example, using the device while charging, or even showing the battery icon that it's charging correctly. Those are very, very difficult parts to nail correctly. So those are the stuff that we really, really wanted to nail, because a lot of people will be expecting these features on a tablet.
Right.
So yeah, those were the stuff that were keeping us at night.
That's great. And I've never worked in the Linux world. How hard is it then to put that sort of operating system on your device and then make sure everything looks correct? Because I guess I'm assuming, in the Apple world, the apps all look a little bit different, right? Like, they're all custom, right? For my, I'm sitting holding one right here, right? So do you guys have to go through that same sort of process, or does it just sort of all work because it's Linux? I don't know much on that.
So no, it does not just work because it's Linux. We had to do a lot of modifications and customizations, especially because we developed the software on top of the Raspberry Pi OS.
Right.
So to make everything work, we had to do a lot of modifications on the software side as well, and take into consideration the limitation of the hardware. So good thing, the base of the CutiePi shell, which is what we're calling the OS of CutiePi, is Qt, basically. It's a framework, so it runs very neatly, very leanly, and it's very optimized.
Yeah, it's not processor heavy.
So we have to start from that. Sorry, I think I digressed.
No, it's all good. No worries, man. Yeah. So so you're building the software on top of the hardware at the same time, it sounds like, right? So that you're making sure that's optimized and you're not limited by, it doesn't open those 3 things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? that would you get out Portable and you're like, I wanted to code the thing and on GitHub or whatever, can't do it. It doesn't open that. Yeah. I can play music,
We absolutely wanted to nail was, sorry, I forgot about this. It's actually the keyboard. The virtual keyboard was really it's I think it's one of our bread and butter, the keyboard. It's really smooth. It's really nice to use. So that was that when we were able to implement that, it was like, this feels so good to use.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I have to imagine that you guys are, it's probably a little bit unfair, but you're probably working to some standard in terms of you have to compete a little bit against an iPad, right? It's, there's that level of if I open it, I expect to type right away, or, that quickness. Are you guys sort of in your mind thinking, hey, we have at least to be on par with this for people to feel
so that crossed our minds. But essentially, this project is a passion project. So, how can I put it? We wanted to make something. We wanted to make the ultimate toy as per our perception. So instead of looking outwards, we just looked inwards and what we wanted the device to be. It came out the way it did with the handle.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's awesome. So, let's talk a little bit about like the open source. So like in your guys' mind, what are some things that maybe, people could be using this for, in the open source world, right? Like, could it be anything, or is there like specific things in your mind that you thought this would really enhance their workflow or their coding ability or whatever it might be?
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's really, we designed this thing to be a launch pad for whatever the developer wants it for. So, during the campaign, we had some inputs, like some of the backers wanted to use this as a P2P tool or a messaging tool or something like that. So they wanted 2 devices and stuff like that, which is really, really nice to hear that they already have this idea in their heads, what they wanted to use the device for. It was just really like surreal. Like, oh, guys, you're getting it. So this is not, it's not a limiting device. It's a device for you to use on your next project. On what you want it to be. So it's really nice.
Yeah, that's exciting. I always love in whatever Kickstarter campaign I work on, when you get these these nuggets that you didn't expect, right? Or or when people really get it and you're like, yes, this is it. That's it. That's what we worked on. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's flip over. I mean, we've kind of hinted a lot about it, but let's actually just kind of talk about the Kickstarter in general. So when we're talking today, you have about 14 days to go, over 700 backers. So a lot of backers, $3,000. So you crushed your goals, all that sort of stuff. Where in this process did Kickstarter start to come in your mind in terms of a funding vehicle for it?
Okay. So around late last year, maybe around September 2019. So to be honest, we initially did not think about crowdfunding crowdfunding our projects. However, when we asked for a quotation from the manufacturers, that was the should I say, aha moment. We needed to seriously consider it.
Right.
Because, so we wanted a professional finish. So up until this point, we were just 3D printing everything. And to have that professional finish, we need to have a mold.
Yeah.
And it's the only way to go. So, so we had started looking at manufacturers, and then we realized, we needed to crowdfund. And so that was around that time, September 2019, I think.
That's cool. And then from there, did you start to think about how this sort of, the Raspberry Pi community in general would support this on Kickstarter, and Kickstarter would be the right platform to go to?
We can just hope at that time, because like I said, this is a very niche device. So we do have our indices to gauge interest. Like, for example, we have on our website, we have our mailing list. And so we use that as the number of subscribers as a gauge of interest. But then when you launch Kickstarter, we really did not know what to expect. So when, so anyways, I'm getting a little bit chatty. But when we actually launched the Kickstarter page, we scheduled it it's 12 a.m. in Japan at that time. It's around maybe 8, 9 a.m. in the US.
Yeah.
When we launched the project. And we were supposed to just launch it, sleep, and then check the progress next day. But then, lo and behold, after 15 minutes, we sold out the first tier of our project. We were just discussing amongst ourselves, what is happening? Everybody's like backing the project. And then 4 hours into the campaign, we just we got fully funded. So it was just so surreal. And it's 4 a.m. in Japan, and we're like, dude, I can't sleep.
That's awesome. So has there been something that sort of stood out in this, maybe behind the scenes in the dashboard, that maybe another thing that you guys didn't expect outside of it taking off instantly? Has there been, a country that's supporting this a lot, or just something that you didn't expect?
It's just that, like I mentioned earlier, there's 2 things. So the fact that the people that they're backing us, they already have a vision on what they wanted to use, and they're very vocal about it, which is kind of refreshing. It's like, what you could have done better. You could have added this, you could have added that, or we're going to use this for this project of ours, and we're excited to have it. Having that kind of reaction was just really surreal for us. And the other thing is just, having it backed on the first day of launching was just something we did not expect. I remember there's an anecdote I'd like to share, but our Pink, the community head, he was he was just minutes before launch. He was trying to edit, modify everything on the campaign page, and I literally had to stop him from changing everything. Like, stay away from the computer, let it be.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, man. There's so much anxiety. It pulls out all kinds of just emotions of good, bad, fear, excitement, and you really kind of get a sense of it. So, so I think a thing that's challenging for a lot of project creators is to kind of know that you have a prototype that looks good enough for your content. Your guys' content looks great. I mean, like your photo, you got your video. It's funny because you're pulling out all this stuff and, how did you guys go about knowing that, like, listen, we, instead of continuing to just tweak, we have something that we at least know that we can move forward. Was there a moment that you guys felt like it looks great, it's going to photograph and video, it's going to look great on video? Did you guys have a moment that you just knew that you were ready for that?
We knew we had some parameters that we wanted to reach, like, for example, the thickness of the PCB board. So we had these parameters that we wanted to reach. And so through the prototypes, again, we... Sorry, I lost. Sorry, could you repeat the question? I lost it.
Yeah, just when did you think that you knew you had something that could be photographed and video? Because again, if you're 3D printing, it's like, it looks okay. But when do you know, like, okay, no, this is it. This will look good.
Actually, we were photographing the 3D printed stuff as well. So we were very proud of it. So like I said, this is a passion project. So anything that came out, we were really proud of it. It was like we treated it like our babies or something like that. So we wanted to see how it would look like, because you could print a lot of stuff, but then to verify the industrial design, you needed a mold. So that's that time maybe we decided, like, okay, so we needed to verify this design of ours. And so that's the time we actually got to thinking, so let's print it. Let's have them print, do injection molding and stuff like that.
Yeah, gotcha. That's very cool. So what kind of has been happening over these last 14 days just to kind of keep those momentum going? Like, what do you guys have planned that, just keeps it going, keeps backers coming in, keeps that energy up?
Okay. So, we are very chatty. We have this group chat on Telegram. So a lot of people come there, or backers come there, and interested parties come there to ask technical questions. That's one of the venues. But at this point, we are shifting our focus away from, I think, advertising into actually the fulfillment phase. So we are shifting our focus to that area for the last 14 days.
Yeah. And how did you guys approach shipping and handling? I know that's a big one for a lot of campaigns, and you guys are doing I think you're doing a worldwide one as well. So how did you approach this so that you're not, losing money?
Right. We have reached out to various fulfillment services, and this is currently in progress, but we potentially might have found one that we wanted to work with. But for us, like you mentioned, we were shipping worldwide, and we know that Kickstarter only validates addresses in the US. So we needed a software tool or a company that would help us validate the address for other countries as well, because a lot of our backers are in Europe as well and other parts of the world. So we need this address verification tool, which is really important for us. So that's why we started. So there must be someone that's offering these services that can help us simplify the fulfillment process. And so that's kind of the thing we're researching at the moment.
Gotcha. So let's kind of move over to fulfillment. So what starts to happen to get these products into backers' hands?
Okay. So after this is after the campaign, right? So as soon as so we already have a manufacturing partner, and after the campaign, we will place our orders with them immediately. And we are expecting to ship the devices at early November 2020. So that is the timeline we are trying to stick to.
Okay. What has to happen for a product like this? Do you guys have to handle like, checking each one and, making sure that USB works, or, is there a process like that in place, or does that all happen at the manufacturing?
Yeah, there's a process in place, but it also happens on the manufacturing side. So so the QA checks, you mean, right?
Yeah. It seems like that. Like this one could have a lot to double check on, and just to make sure it's all good to go and stuff. And how about for a product like this? Like, do you guys have to think about packaging and that sort of experience of opening it, or is this community not as fickle about that sort of stuff?
We are thinking about the packaging. Actually, we have a few box designs that we haven't released yet, and that is a point of contention currently because we have varying opinions amongst us. But yeah, so we are really thinking about the packaging of the tablet.
That's cool.
So it's a CutiePi, so we have to take our cue from somewhere.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's great. So what does this, how about the next year? What does this whole next year look like? I mean, obviously, hopefully by November, you're shipping everything out.
Right.
700 people in the world have these, or 1,000, whatever your final numbers are. What then happens for this group of people who made this? Like, what do you guys see yourself doing?
So for next year, well, after we ship the products, we plan to, as much as possible, we want to put the tablets into the hands of more developers. So that they can start making something really cool with it. And if they do, maybe they can tag us. We'll be really happy to know what they've made. And we also plan to keep up with how Raspberry Pi upgrades their products. So if in the future they release something, and if we can support that, we plan on doing so.
Gotcha. So you guys are envisioning that you would have just like, the iPad 1, 2, 3. I mean, you would have at some point it's CutiePi 1, and then you guys would just keep moving on as things upgrade, get faster, and all that sort of stuff.
I don't. So for CutiePi Tablet, I think. So we wanted to make a tablet. We made a tablet. As of now, we're not thinking of making tablet 2.
Right.
But we do have other pretty cool toys in our minds that we'd like to make.
Yeah.
So it may not come. It probably will not come in the form of a tablet. But there are some stuff that we are excited to go into fruition. And we hope those will resonate well with the audience as much as it did with the CutiePi Tablet.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So, I've been ending each one of my interviews since we here in the States, we've been quarantined, and the whole world. So, kind of some questions that aren't around Kickstarter. So, if you're ready for them, I'll shoot them over if you're ready.
Okay, all right.
What are you watching? Maybe in the streaming world, the Netflix, Hulu's of the world. Is there any shows that you're watching right now?
I currently just finished Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, very nice. That's a good one.
Yeah,
very funny stuff. Yeah, it's a very funny one. I think the new season's supposed to be coming out pretty soon on Netflix. The last one, the season 6.
I heard that from friends in the States, but the thing is, in Japan, we already have all seasons.
Oh, well, then no spoilers here, because I need to wait. I need to watch season 6. Okay, all right. How about is there a movie that you've watched recently that you enjoyed?
Oof, movie. It's a long time since maybe Aquaman. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I ask this question, nobody's watching any movies anymore. They're like, I don't know. Everything's TV shows or 10-part series. It's it's funny too, because everybody's like, oh, I don't have time for movies because movies are like an hour and a half. But then they're like, I watched this 12-part series, which is like 12 hours. I'm like, but the movie was only an hour and a half. So it's interesting.
Oh, I think I watched Shazam. So I like the superhero movie. So
okay,
Shazam.
All right. How about a book? You read a book lately?
Okay, yeah. I would love to say Neil Gaiman's Ocean at the End of the Lane, but in reality, I think it's a self-help book, Scrum related book. I think it's how to do your job in half the time or something like that.
Okay. All right. Nice. How about podcasts? I mean, I know you listen to mine all the time, so I know that. Yeah. But is there any other podcasts that you're listening to?
Yeah, there's this one. It's called The Eaves Drop.
Okay.
So it's so the hosts are three radio hosts, three female radio hosts and a male radio host. So it's just a very opinionated show about things in general. So they just talk to each other. It's just quite a refreshing take on positive life.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And my last one then is around like, is there any blog sources or websites you go to kind of stay up with one, your industry, or two, marketing, or is there just like resources that you go to either get inspired or whatever it might be on the internet?
Okay. Okay. So I have a plural site subscription.
Okay.
So that I don't know if I can say that, but yeah. So I have that subscription, and so I use it to study. And because right now I'm studying a lot regarding a new technology that I've been doing. It's about a cloud platform called Salesforce. It's not. It's popular. But I think it's still niche. But yeah. So I'm studying about that just to broaden my horizons. And for anything else, I think I just go to Apple Insider.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. Well, where should people go to check this out outside of the Kickstarter? Where should we send people?
Oh yeah, so we have a website. It's CutiePi.io. You can check out latest information from there. We also are very active on our Twitter account, which is CutiePi_IO.
Okay.
It's the same for our Twitter. Sorry, not Twitter. Telegram. So Telegram is mostly for technical questions, so we can answer if they have anything. We have people there on standby, willing to talk to anyone and anywhere.
That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you've got an amazing campaign here. It was really cool for me to find it. As I'm going through the Kickstarter world, I always love these sort of, when you see something completely in the Raspberry Pi world. For me, I'm always interested in it because it just seems like it's awesome because it's coming out of kind of nowhere. And there's a community that's always using it. So I think this is a really, really good product. And you guys have obviously hit a grand slam with this. And I wish you guys a lot of luck in the future. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Awesome. Awesome. Good luck with the rest of the campaign.
All right. Thank you.
Bye now.